r/ask Reddit. What is it that we are living in the golden age of? Access to information and misinformation. Social media is bad for that. It's much easier to read the title of an article and share instead of doing your own research on the topic. The amount of misinformation that is shared every single day is quite baffling. Looking at people having sex from a distance. I like how you didn't say porn like everyone else. He means the advancements in binocular technology. Craft beer. It's never been this easy to pass off alcoholism as a hobby. I am not chugging beer, I am sampling a flight of gluten-free German lagers with a French wine pairing. It's called a smorgasbord and it's elegantly cultural. I really want my own craft beer to take off. It's called Another Ducking IPA. Our idea was to specifically tailor our brewing process to minimize all flavors except hops. Yoga pants. This one's pretty specific, but underwater cave exploration. Cave diving got its start back in the late 60s, early 70s. It developed a reputation for being extremely dangerous, mainly due to the lack of training and general unreliability of equipment. Lots of people died and valuable lessons were learned from the causal factors. Today, equipment is extremely reliable if properly maintained. The likelihood of experiencing a major failure is slim. Training has also developed exponentially to the point where a well-trained cave diver with high quality, well-maintained equipment takes on more risk driving to the dive site than actually cave diving. To an extent, more complex profiles change the math a bit, but most risk can be mitigated. As a result of this, along with technological innovation, exploration is blowing up. Highly experienced teams are laying miles of survey line at depths exceeding 300 feet. I've seen pictures and video of previously unexplored cave passages that have seen fewer people than the surface of the moon. There are connections waiting to be made and entirely new systems waiting to be discovered. We may have largely explored the surface of the Earth, but we know very little about what's underneath the surface, as well as under the oceans. True exploration is alive and well, and the only barrier to how far someone can go is how much time, effort, money, and dedication they're willing to put into it. Well, I guess we saw recently in Thailand a demonstration of many of the things you said. That's a perfect example of something that would have likely been impossible just 10 or 15 years ago. Rebreather technology was a big player in reaching the kids to begin with, and the techniques used to push the cave are based on those foundational developments from the early days of cave diving. The serialized sitcom. It used to be that sitcoms were a thing you could dip in and out of an episode at a time, but more and more sitcoms are leaning into the idea that they can tell a complete narrative. See, You're the Worst, The Good Place, Atlanta, BoJack Horseman. The results are sitcoms with a lot of depth to them that you didn't see quite so often before. I love that serialized sitcoms can do effective comedy callbacks rather than having to do something repeatedly to be a running gag. Board games. Came here for this. My kids had some friends over to play board games a month ago. One of the other kids' dad talked to me later and said that his daughter was mad at him and accused him of failing as a father. Why did you never show us that these things existed? She basically accused him of robbing enjoyment from her because there was this amazing world of games that existed and he never told her. It was awesome. Access to food. Consider this. Obesity is a problem for the poor in the USA. Never before have so many people had access to in excess of 2,500 calories for such tiny real wages. For comparison, a French worker in occupied France would have to spend a week's wages in order to have a single meal of 2,500 calories. Music. You can listen to anything, anywhere, anytime. Plus there are so many genres and unheard of stuff out there that you could never have discovered in the past. Pay $10 a month for Spotify. Be able to have it DL whatever I want so I can listen to it whenever I want. Pretty sweet compared to when I was growing up. Debt. Not yet. We'll be in the golden age when debtor's prison comes back. In the golden age of debt you take out a loan to build your own debtor's prison. But at least there is a big TV. Memes. I like being there for the creation. Like recently watching the whole Thanos home meme take hold. It's hysterical. Beer. There have been so many developments with new types and flavors and there are so many breweries popping up everywhere. I would venture to say that it's on its way towards decline due to oversaturation. There are already super famous popular local breweries selling, cashing out to the big ones. The next big thing I've seen creep up is craft liquor. Hopefully we'll be left with enough good ones. Showers. Op asked the golden age of, not the age of golden. Superhero movies. Goddamn, it's a good time to be a nerd. Well, a Marvel nerd. DC, ED. I think we are getting into the beginnings of one for exercise science, which is good and bad. As an amateur competitive cyclist, I've got more training science and more tools available to me than ever before. Every time I ride, I have 6 data fields displayed on my bike computer that can tell me exactly what's going on with my body. I can track my heart rate 24/7. The computer programs can look at my physical performance, recorded during my ride in 1-second intervals, and do a detailed analysis that simply wasn't possible 20 years ago. I've got more exercise science available to me via free software, blogs, and podcasts than professional cyclists with full-time coaches did in the mid-90s. Not to mention, way better bike technology as well. My mid-range road bike outperforms the bikes that Lance was winning the Tour on in every way. Weight, aerodynamically, rolling resistance. The downside of this is that the level of completion has increased. You show up to your first race, and there are guys in the field who train 15 hours a week all winter long with every available gadget using a scientifically optimized training regimen and top-end bike technology, and you've got to do that as well if you want to be competitive. There are some pretty great Mountain Dew flavors out there now. Sometimes I go into the gas station just to browse. Bring back the original citrus Gamer Fuel. Subscription television services, especially for sport. They are great. Instant HD or even 4K content available on a handful of stable platforms. But we are on the cusp of it becoming a huge minefield. Dozens of different subscription services, each with their own little niche. If you want to see everything, then you will need a subscription to all of them. Definitely television and video games. Television, the most options we've ever seen. Aside from that, it seems that every network is producing high quality shows. Between Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Amazon, AMC, literally almost every network there is a golden show worth watching that is as high quality in terms of production as movies. Video games, again a ton of options. Indie games are everywhere. There's a type of game for everyone, from puzzle to card games to FPS. They get actors to play in the stories. The writing is phenomenal. The graphics and settings for games keeps wowing me. There's almost too many that I don't have time to play everything I want. Depression. Honestly, tons of teens and college-age kids feel depression. It's common nowadays in young people. If you want to make some money, psychiatry is the up-and-coming field to do it. 10 years go by and all the kids who haven't killed themselves are gonna need a shrink. The superhero movie. I know, there are complaints that the market is oversaturated. But think back to the early 2000s and the quality of the superhero films we were getting then. Now we live in a world where you can hear that there's a new superhero movie coming out and reasonably expect it to be a fun way to spend 2 hours. Lots of things that were mentioned here are likely to get even better in the future, and if that is so, then this hardly qualifies as its golden age. So my choice would be Moore's Law. We live in the golden age in which transistors have already become really small, but are still getting even smaller. Sooner or later Moore's Law will be pushed to the physical extreme, and we will no longer be able to count on significant improvements to computing power and information storage in the future. Food? Seriously, there are so many different things to try in so many different countries. Guitars. Despite the fact Gibson is tanking and their quality control has gone to shit, guitars overall and the rest of the industry is definitely getting better for cheaper. For people who don't know anything about guitars, but are curious, hear me out. Back in the old days about 20 years ago and longer, when you had a low-end guitar, it was guaranteed to be a pose. You had to get rid of it ASAP. The only reason why you played it at all was because you were dead broke and it was the only thing you could get your hands on. The quality of mid-range guitars was spotty at best, thanks to modern manufacturing techniques with CNC machines. The most expensive process in making quality guitars has come down considerably. Thanks to this, the quality of mid-range priced guitar from $500, $1,000 is now excellent. The quality of low-end guitars below $500 is actually good, which is saying a lot. You can actually buy a starter guitar between $100, $200. That doesn't sound like shit. It won't be great, but it will be just good enough to give you a taste of what that instrument is capable of doing. And from there, if you later upgrade to a $500, $1,000, the quality there is consistently good enough to be professional. There are excellent instruments out there at affordable prices that are less than a brand new computer. Now is an excellent time to take up playing IMHO. Muscle cars. The previous golden age of muscle cars was late 60s, early 70s, and it might be hard to argue that this one is objectively better. But as far as ride quality, performance, bang for your buck, looks, and options go, this is a great time to be a Mustang, Camaro, Challenger / Charger owner. Maybe Corvettes too, but they're treating into supercar territory now. And then there's all the workshops breathing new life and power into the old classics. Amazing restoration projects going on everywhere, and so on. Football, soccer, though we may be at the tail end of it, the quality both Ronaldo and Messi have given us over the last 10 years at Madrid and Barcelona have been magnificent, and I wish they could play on forever. Buying marijuana. Canada. It's about to be legalized, taxed and sold through provincial dispensaries. For the next 6 weeks we can still buy an amazing variety of products online from any source, at very competitive prices, and have it shipped through the mail. Also, though technically illegal, you'd have to be a real idiot for Johnny Law to pursue charging you for any weed crimes at this point. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.